When you think about the fact that the Republican Party went in and dismantled and defunded USAID without any conference with Congress, Elon Musk just arbitrarily did it. Marco Rubio, who was pro USAID his entire Senate career, has done a complete 180. Democrats hardly any pushback. So now we have ICE that is murdering, abusing, terrorizing, I believe colluding with the administration to suppress voters on midterm voting day. And so our full stop on this is the Democratic Party, right? They are the ones that are going to have to, even if just it's for the record, even if they don't get the votes, it has to be, this organization cannot exist. It must be abolished. These people already don't follow the law. So any more rules, what makes us think that they're not going to break those? Here's Chuck Schumer yesterday on Morning Joe.
Most important, no secret police. These guys go around, these people go around with masks. It makes them more brutal. They're never accountable. No one even knows who they are. There should be no masks except in the most of unusual circumstances. You know, some guy's picture was put up by a terrorist group or something. But there should be no masks. There should be there should be cameras. Everyone should have cameras, and there should be rules on how they use them. And they have to have regular uniforms, not all the stuff they're wearing. But we cannot have secret police. And we cannot, Johnson, the speaker, has said he wants to keep the masks. Well, I guarantee you, when you go down to his district in Louisiana, the sheriffs and police are identified, fully identified with their name and their number. Right. That has to happen across America to prevent these rogue forces from terrorizing cities.
So basically, all right, here we go. Basically, it is the Republican Party, we want to kill people. The Democratic Party is, we want to make sure it's documented, and sometimes the people are unmasked. That's the opposition to this. We have no pumps. This resistance has no institutional support. I feel like as a progressive Democrat, we have to fight the corporate Democrats as much as we have to fight MAGA.
If not more, because they're supposed to be the party that's helping and protect us and leading the resistance. Here's the thing. I have run out of words and energy to even write a deeply disappointed letter. People are dying, and he's talking about fucking dress codes. I don't know what else to say. What I'm inclined to say is he's never going to change, because he really doesn't give a shit about change. And it enrages me.
I completely agree. Okay, pop up this next post, Kylie. This is Michael Gold. He, as a New York Times journalist, he writes, Democrats seem to have softened their demand that federal immigration officers be banned from wearing masks when making deportation arrests. The House Minority Leader, Representative Hakeem Jeffries, said that the party's position was that no masks should be deployed in an arbitrary and capricious fashion. Senator Chuck Schumer, the Minority Leader, said that masks should only be used in extraordinary circumstances. David Sirota responds to this and says, it's time to consider the idea that everyone keeping these lawmakers in their leadership jobs are actively complicit in what's happening. So this is what I completely agree with. So it's obvious right now that Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are fascist collaborators. It's obvious. They just continue to not whip votes. They continue to play patty cake with fascists. They continue to not be the leaders of the moment. They continue to be corporations first, public later. Yes, their policies are far more reductive in harm than Republicans, but this is not far enough. This is a massive moment in American history. So now we have to go on. Chuck Schumer, we've all been screaming, Hakeem screaming. So now we have to move on to the people in the House and Senate, the progressive Democrats. And I'm serious about this. They need to start using the language that both of these people need to be kicked out of their leadership positions. It's the American public does not support ICE. It's a moderate position, moderate, to abolish ICE. 4 to 9%, depending on which poll you look at, of the Democratic Party support a blank check to Israel. Yet these two leaders continue to do somebody's bidding. Well, whose bidding is it? It has to be the corporations. We know that ICE has set up a multi-billion-dollar prison industrial complex that is now going to be a networks of warehouses, aka concentration camps, throughout all of these red states to start housing people. And they're talking about, as you so perfectly put, Pumps, dress codes.
Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. I look at Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, and I think they bring a knife to a gunfight. That's how ill prepared they are. And we can't scream any louder. I don't know how they can possibly think that better training, more rules to a completely lawless and corrupt organization is going to make it better. I can't wrap my head around it.
Well, the only thing that makes sense is you have to follow the money. And remember
Absolutely.
about a month ago, Pumps, when I did, and there was a picture of Chuck Schumer at like a donor dinner, and there were lobbyists there for Palantir. Mm-hmm. Well, who's benefiting from a lot of this ICE stuff? You know, when you see the agents say, we're taking a picture and putting you in a database. Well, that's all Palantir software. And so we clearly have leadership that are fascist collaborators. They say one thing, but then their votes are always something else. And so we have in the Democratic Party real fighters, real progressives that are for the people, that are anti corporations getting a free ride and having the system rigged for them. And there needs to be an internal coup in the Democratic Party to overturn these people. Ken Martin, the top leadership of the DNC, refused to release the autopsy report on why Kamala Harris lost. So we can't both, on the one hand, criticize Jeff Bezos for spiking the story on Kamala Harris, spiking the endorsement on Kamala Harris. We can't criticize Barry Weiss for suppressing the 60 Minutes CCOT episode, while at the same time just going, nothing to see here. You either believe in transparency or you don't. And so when Democratic leadership has this doublespeak, it is absorbed to the public as pick me politicians. I don't want to take a position on anything because I want to make sure that I'm as milquetoast as possible. And this is a massive, massive problem. And I desperately call on the progressives in the Democratic Party. You're younger. People like you more. It will be wildly popular. Change the narrative. Go on offense. Get new leadership. The Republican Party humiliated themselves for, I think it was like 17 days or something, with 95,000 different votes, and they end up with little Moses Mike Grinder Johnson. And guess what? He's doing exactly what they want him to do. He's doing exactly what the base wants him to do. We don't have that on our side. We have zero institutional support. And so at the same time that we're talking about all this ICE stuff, Pumps, and the Democrats not responding to it or playing patty cake with, costume changes and when masks are appropriate and when masks aren't. The election rigging machinations are in full swing. Put this up. Okay, big scoop. Matt Berg tweets, Trump's FBI summoned state election officials from across the country for an unusual briefing on preparations for the midterms, according to emails I obtained. It's the strangest thing in the world, one top state election official told me. Preparations from the FBI. And then Aaron Regenberg responds, damn. Trump is very actively planning to rig the upcoming elections. I guess we better keep funding the terrorist militia force he's going to use to execute these plans without ever securing a single real concession. So, they talked about putting in this funding that ICE cannot be used on election day, near polls, et cetera. But they didn't fight for that. They're over here playing patty cake with when he can wear a mask, when he can't wear a mask, maybe a terrorist organization, all of these what ifs. And we have no opposition party at all. And you have the news stories here where he is actively rigging doing everything he can do to rig the elections. He is training this Gestapo squad to use for voter suppression. If you look at the United States electoral map and where all the blue voters are, and then you superimpose it where all of ICE is deployed, right, it's the exact same locations. So this is an attack on the very political party and the very people that believe in the Democratic Party. And our leaders are out to lunch, playing, twiddling their thumbs with the corporations. And then we're told, hey, don't criticize Democrats. And I'm like, well, who are we supposed to criticize then? We spend all of our time mainly focused on Trump and this regime. But then I would love nothing more than to sit down here every day and go, the Democratic Party said, no, fuck you, we're not doing it. They all walked out of the Capitol hand in hand and had a major press conference. They're holding press conferences every night and they're playing offense. Finally, we have an opposition party that is for the people, of the people, by the people. But Chuckles and Hakeem, day after day, of the corporations, by the corporations, for the corporations.
Here's the thing. We saw in 2020 that Trump said, basically, I'm only going to believe the elections if I win. He said that just this week on Fox News. We don't have to go any further than that. Trump is going to rig the election. He's putting people in place, all the rules, all the costume changes, all the dress code violations. None of that's going to stop. And you can put anything you want in a bill. He's not going to do it. So quit fucking around with your thumb up your ass and make some real changes. We are begging you. And I will say this for people that say, oh, you criticize the Democratic Party too much. How are we supposed to enact change if we agree with everything? And are we as guilty as being in a cult as MAGA if we never disagree or try to make our party better? So I say to all the people, don't criticize the Democratic Party. We lost to a complete fucking dipshit, unhinged, sleepy, marble-mouthed dude twice. We need to figure out why and do not do the same thing again and again and again.
Love it.
Mic drop.
Love it, pumpers. All right. And then I want to leave you with this. Last night on Truth Social, they're so much more unhinged and emboldened by racism now. And Barack Obama is adored and beloved by the overwhelming majority of the Democratic Party and by the majority of the American public. And then you can go even bigger, around the globe. And a lot of the MAGA movement has coalesced around the idea that they didn't think a Black man should have been president. And Trump started the birth certificate stuff, which was just overt racism. Some people say it was dog whistles. I don't. I think it was just it was the easiest way he could say the N-word without saying it. Right. He wasn't born in America. And people that use the N-word actively knew exactly what he was calling former President Obama. Well, now here he is with one of the worst tropes ever on Truth Social last night, posting this video. Gavin Newsom press office says disgusting behavior by the president. Every single Republican must denounce this now. Trump just posted a video on Truth Social that includes a racist image of Barack and Michelle Obama as monkeys. And when you start with what we started talking about at the beginning of this, and then we end with that, my message to Chuckles and Hakeem, step aside. There are people that actually care. There are people that see that you are a duplicitous, compromised politician that cannot meet this moment. We are tired of corporate Dems. We are tired of you servicing AIPAC. We are tired of you servicing your corporate donors. This is a 911, the house is on fire moment. Any other opposition party would see a video like that, have an immediate press conference and say, we will vote no across the board. Every single person in this House and in this Senate has Black citizens in their district. This sort of racism is a stain on the American public, and we stand against it. Our vote is not just no, it is hell no. And we will not show up to work until every single Republican condemns this, every single one of them. But racism from these people is just allowed. And if the Democratic Party doesn't stand up for everybody, then what do we have? And here's a fundamental link between what he posted with the horrible racist trope of Michelle and Barack Obama and how I started this episode with ICE. The reason we even have ICE, the reason this is normalized, is because we normalized police violence on African Americans since the inception of our country. And nobody gave a shit about it. Nobody gave a shit about it until 2 white people got shot. So what he's doing there, this is intentional propaganda, is to remind you, we are the supremacists. Mm-hmm. This ruling class right here is the supremacist. And it's intentional propaganda on his part. And it's disgusting. And it makes me just despise the Democratic Party more and more for their feckless, horrible leadership. All right, that's all we have. Like, subscribe, comment. Back later with more.